Warning, this episode contains strong language or mature themes. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to This Podcast is Uncalled For.
Well, the name of this podcast is Stuff Uncalled For?
This podcast is uncalled for.
Podcast, all right. Well,
what's uncalled for about it?
What we doing in Tijuana?
And you're like, what did you just say?
It's a bit of a slap in the face and an insult.
And then look, thank you back home.
Oh, that's going to be great for the football chart.
Yeah, it's kind of, what is that character from Guardians of the Galaxy who takes everything literally?
Because it always happens. It always happens.
That is uncalled for, Michael.
And now, your host for this podcast, Mike Chernevsky.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody. So, today we're doing a thoughts episode. This is revisited thoughts because it's going to touch on three things we've talked about on the podcast before: promotion, relegation, public transits, and downtown ballparks. And these all tie in to the 2026 World Cup. We're going to start with the pro-rel side of things and why I think it was a mistake to award the World Cup to the United States. Yeah, I know Canada and Mexico got lumped in there too, but big mistake awarding it to the U.S. Primarily because the U.S. is in direct violation of the FIFA principle of sporting merit. As we all know, there is really no pro-rel in U.S. soccer yet, but we're definitely seeing two very different models emerging. The first model is the franchise model that is prevalent in other American sports, and you see this keenly in MLS and yes, USL, which I've maintained is a joke league. I still maintain that to this day. I was like, well, they're the most stable thing. Let's look into that stability bullshit. That's what it is total bullshit. Look at the clubs that have existed in that league and how long they've lasted, and I gotta tell you, not long. And let's never forget how your practices, USL, directly led to the North American Soccer League being forced out of business by you poaching their clubs and effectively turning them into non-clubs but franchises. And you're doing the same thing now. You're trying to do the same thing now with NISA, and that's bullshit, and that's disgusting, and it needs to stop. If sporting merit were a consideration, then Orlando City would never be allowed anywhere near MLS. So we are in direct violation of the idea of sporting merit. Speaking of NISA, if you're listening to this podcast and think NISA needs to die, fuck you. Stop listening. Because while NISA has its issues, I think their setup is the closest we will get to pro-rel until things change. And I'll talk about the federation side of things in a second. But I really like what NISA is doing. There is just the one pro league right now. But below that, they are building a very impressive pyramid. Starting with NISA Nation as the second tier. NISA Nation is an amateur or semi-pro league that is regionalized, and the idea is to groom amateur sides to be ready for the pro side of things. That means a year-long, not a seasonal thing like you see currently with amateur leagues. And yeah, it's seen as a stepping stone and a important step towards pro rel in that system. And they are building towards a pro rel system, unlike the Joke League. Well, below NISA Nation, they have affiliations with 7 leagues, including the Midwest Premier League. So, yes, Kansas City, we do have a NISA-affiliated club in our area. It's a club that I've been a fan of for the past few years and will continue to be a fan of. I, of course, speak of Santa Fe Wanderers. They are playing at the time of this recording, they're in the middle of their first season as a Midwest Premier League side. And as far as I'm concerned, they should be 3 wins, no losses. But because of a 10-account county, I'm not going to question the league's judgment on this. But for some reason, one of those wins turned into a forfeit. I don't know what happened, and really, none of my business, but it happened. So we're doing pretty well in Midwest Prem play, and not so. Yeah, we returned to UPSL, which is a amateur semi-pro league with an internal promotion relegation setup. Again, very regionalized. Everything we don't have enough clubs in our area to do it local in the local edition. But I will say this: if that were the case, then Santa Fe would have gone down within UPSL because we stunk up the joints in UPSL play. And kudos, since I'm on that train of thought, to Dodge City Toros on winning the division this year. So, yeah, if you're in the Kansas City area and want to see promotion relegation happen as it should in soccer, Santa Fe is the club for you. And I hope other local teams will jump onto the Midwest Prem bandwagon in future seasons. I'm looking at you, Barrieros. I think it'd be great to see the Batalla del Barrio being contested within a pro-rel system. So I am absolutely rooting for NISA to continue to grow and expand. And to hell with everyone that says they should die off, because you are part of the problem in soccer in this country. But the bigger problem is unfortunately at the U.S. Soccer Federation level, because hindering pro-rel is a set of standards, and I use that word loosely, called the Professional League Standards, or PLS in soccer Twitter speak. The PLSRAPOS, and I'll briefly go over their little outline here. So, general requirements for all professional leagues, additional specific division standards listed below. The competition play. This is rich. Leagues playing rules must comply with all relevant FIFA guidelines and laws of the game. This is one that should piss everybody off. Again, they use the word markets here. Again, we should use metropolitan areas. At least 75% of the league's teams must be based in the U.S. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. League stadiums must meet the following parameters. All stadiums, arenas must have controllable ingress and egress. Okay, that's fair. All outdoor leagues playing surfaces for all teams must be at least 70 yards by 110 yards and be FIFA approved. Okay. Coaches and referees. Financial viability. As specified for each division, the league must require each team to post with the league, or if so directed with the federation, an adequate performance bond, blah blah blah. Any new team principal owner must meet with federation staff regarding the responsibilities of owning the team prior to the team's participation in the league. In the case of a new league, each team principal owner in the new league and the senior league personnel must meet with federation staff on an individual or group basis as required by the federation. League office, media, team organization, relationship with federation. Okay, ready to get pissed off? Division 1 standards. Currently just MLS. Leagues must have a minimum of 12 teams to apply. By year 3, the league must have a minimum of 14. U.S.-based teams must be located in at least the Eastern, Central, and Pacific time zones of the continental United States. At least 75%. Here's a key one. At least 75% of the league's teams must play in metropolitan areas of at least 1 million persons. That standard alone would exclude a lot of top division European sides. AFC Bournemouth immediately comes to mind for England. Financial viability. League must amount of $1 million. The maximum of such funds running the league shall be $20 million. Media. They even have these standards for women's outdoor leagues. Division 2 men's outdoor leagues. Minimum 8 to apply, 10 with it by year 3, and 12 by year 6. Which again, kind of hard to do when you have predatory leagues that should not exist, poaching legitimate startups. And in their case, 50,000 people in 75% of metropolitan areas, and again the 6 time zones bullshit, and their other financial standards as well. Division 3, minimum 8 to apply. their rules clearly discourage promotion relegation. You can start an amateur or Division III side fairly cheaply, but God forbid you should work your way up the footballing pyramid, and God forbid you should do so without being insanely wealthy. So, one side effect of the North American Soccer League being wrongly forced out of business is that they are suing still to this day the USSF over those piece of shit guidelines, and I'm running for them to win because pro rel needs to happen. I long to see the day that Santa Fe could work their way up the table and possibly play Sporting in a top division match. And on the flip side, I long for the day that Sporting could, based on a bad season, go down a level and have to play teams at a lower level. True sporting merits. That is, at the very least, we should be talking about if MLS and US are so hell bent on the franchise model, then let's split the federation in two and let the clubs have their own federation. That would be FIFA approved, everything based on sporting merits, and go from there. And again, if you're in the Kansas City area and you want a team that supports that's in a promotion relegation setup, or more accurately is working towards a promotion relegation setup, then Boundless Wanderers, you want to be Santa Fe. But we are getting the World Cup in 2026, and that means improving public transit, particularly to Arrowhead, where all the World Cup games will be played. And now I get to talk about the streetcar. Actually, just a couple days before I'm recording this, actually took a couple trips on the streetcar, and it's still a great way to get around downtown. And they're building the Main Street extension right now. They will start building the Riverfront extension, and they got two other extensions being talked about. And mercifully, since last I talked about this, they have names for all the stops that aren't necessarily the intersections, even though they can be identified by intersections also. So for purposes of refresher, the current line, the starter line, and that's an appropriate term for it, the starter line, because if it's just that starter line and they say, okay, we're done, it won't be as it won't have the potential to be very useful. So the starter line, of course, begins and ends really at Union Station, going north-south and then looping around the River Market. So the stations currently go Union Station, Crossroads, as in the Crossroads Arts District, Kaufman Center. Actually, Kaufman Center is a pretty treacherous hike. It's an uphill hike from the actual stop. Then Paradise Metro Center, Library. Again, the library's pretty. It's a bit of a hike from there, but all right. North Loop, and then the loop starts City Market, River Market North, River Market West, before going back down North Loop all the way back to Union Station. And I'll also point out the City Market stops right in front of the Opera House. Great venue, good food, great place to host a board game night. And River Market West, not too far from the former Cup and Saucer, which is now Thou Mayest, which is a local chain of coffee shops now. So really great to see that place is still a coffee shop. The extension, the Main Street extension, will go over. So every single stop on this extension is, or at least was, a Max Bus stop. Max Bus being the bus rapid transit system in our area. It goes along the Main Street line. So the stops along this extension will be Union Station, of course. Now traveling south down Main. So World War I Museum Memorial. Let's just call it Liberty Memorial because that's what everyone calls it. Union Hill, near the KCPT studio. Armour Main right now, not much there, just an abandoned Burger King and some offices, but okay. Westports, again, bit of a hike to get to Westport proper, but that's okay. And we'll tie in with another extension we'll talk about soon. Then Southmoreland. Then this is a mouthful. art museums and KCAI, KC Art Institute, because it's, again, close to but still a hike to the Nelson, the Art Institute, the Contemporary Art Museum, all closer to there. Then the Plaza, and then finally UMKC. So that's the Main Street line. Again, glad to see actual names of these stations, which kind of mirrored the current names of the existing bus stops there. And the Riverfront extension would just go from River Market North over the bridge there to the Riverfront, and the stop is just called Berkeley Riverfront. I have heard a couple of things about this particular extension. One, that the women's soccer team would be building their stadium in that area, and they're looking to possibly extend it a little more to better service that project. Number one. Number two, I have long heard rumors that the casino formerly known as Al Capri, now called Bally's, would pay for an additional extension of that particular line to service the casino, which I think makes a lot of sense. Until that happens, I would view this as the potential Mill Hill East of the Kansas City streetcar. For more context of that joke, I reference you to Jay Foreman or Jeff Marshall. There's a third extension that's they have done. By they, I mean the Streetcar Authority, are currently wrapping up studies on and finalizing a plan. Is codenamed North Rail, and this would be servicing North KC. The idea is to have the loop, the River Market loop would extend a little further east. So from City Market, it would potentially extend just a little further down the street, then turn before the Heart of America Bridge and have a stop at Columbus Park, which is that fairly isolated neighborhood just to the east of the River Market. From there, it would cross the Missouri River along the Heart of America Bridge, and then, depending on which route, I think most people like the Swift Avenue route as opposed to staying on Burlington Street. And the more you read into it, I think this is the way they will wind up going, and then coming back, which going to 3rd Street and create a third platform at River Market North, which I'm all for. It tremendously extends the reach of the streetcar even more, servicing the Northland, and open up potential, in my opinion, for stuff like getting to the airport. All right, so that's number 3. And then number 4, which are still in the study phase as I record this, and I did participate in their survey, despite not living this part of town nor spending much part in this part of town right now, but still it does affect the future of transit. And as an east-west line, so far everything we talked about is going north-south. Here's our first east-west. So the termini for this east-west study would be KU Med to the west and the Truman Sports Complex to the east, so Arrowhead. And they haven't put any firm plans down, but how I envision this is that it would start at 39th and Rainbow, where KU Med sits, go along 39th Street, along the through the West 39th Street district, along the northern edge of Westport, before intersecting with the Main Street line at the Westport stop, and then picking up again either at Armour or Linwood. Armour has already been vastly retrograded to accommodate safe bicycling and everything, trying to get everything a little more green in that part of town. If they go Linwood, they'd have to put another station at Linwood, which I'm okay with. Which was between the Union Hill and Armour stops, and I think is a logical place for a stop because you got Gates Barbecue there and other shopping as well. But for simplicity's sake, we're going to stick with Linwood for this. It would travel along Linwood Boulevard, going east. It would. I'm not sure how the stops would work, but at least one would be at the VA hospital, the Veteran Affairs Hospital, in that clusterfuck of streets coming together. And then continuing down Stadium Drive right into Arrowhead. And if they want, and it's currently in the study phase right now, but if they want to speed things up so that this option becomes viable by 2026, by all means do it. So those are the streetcar plans that are publicly available. kcstreetcar.org if you want to study more on it. But again, why stop there? The Streetcar Authority has already planned an additional number of possible routes that could be explored, including one that would serve as a downtown ballpark for the Royals, and we know they are definitely thinking long term in that direction. That could and also from what I heard, that could possibly be done by 2026, if not earlier. And it sounds like people at the Royals must be listening to this podcast, because they are looking at that 13th and Charlotte site that I have long been advocating for, which brings me to the next logical step for where streetcar lines can and should go, and that would be following the max bus routes that we had talked about earlier. So again, bus rapid transit system. My thinking on this is the current streetcar and the Main Street extension pretty much cover the Main Street max bus anyway, but it extends further than the UMKC campus. It goes all the way down to Waldo and through Brookside, and their alternate routes already take it through Westport and the Plaza. So that's a possible route in parallel with where the streetcar will go. That's one possible. Number two and number 3 both already use 12th Street, which would go past the proposed stadium site that I'm talking about, where really the only thing that exists right now there just happens to be a transit center for these buses. One would be along Troost. So go 12th Street to Holmes and Charlotte, down to 29th and 25th, and 25th over to Troost all the way down to 75th at minimum, Bannister, and then Blue Ridge has proper extended routes, which I'm all for, and would service Rockhurst. The current Max Bus stop at that site is called Universities, so yeah, let's do that. Shouldn't have a Universities stop on a streetcar, and the third line goes on Prospect, so further sticking with 12th Street all the way to Prospect, and going south all the way down to 75th, and then after that, so there you go, 3 potential streetcar lines. After that, I picked up some stuff from the Smart Moves project done by the Mid-American Regional Council, MARC rather, and they identify fast and frequent network routes, which is in my thinking would be the next logical step in finding a streetcar, or I guess in this particular instance now we're possibly looking at light rail for these potential routes. So we'll go clockwise. So North Road would take care of some up, but not all of a potential North Oak trafficway corridor. Which, if this North Rail does wind up on Burlington, I guess you could still do it from Swifts, just have it go through some parkland and stuff up a hill to down North Oak trafficway. It'd be a main artery of a Northland service. Independence Avenue. One of the benefits of doing the extended loop with North Rail, it would create an opportunity to split off and do a Independence Avenue line. So all for that. And we have Truce and Prospect. I've already talked about 39th, 31st Street. Those would be covered by an east-west. Looks like the 31st would also follow Missouri 350. Not bad ideas, not bad. And yeah, the graphic also shows a Truce covering that small part of Bannister, or 95th if you're on the Kansas side. 95th would not be a bad 95th as a whole would not be a bad option either. But they also identify 75th Street from Prospect to Quivira. And then Quivira south of 75th. Oh, absolutely, because you're hitting JUCO and you're hitting Oak Park Mall along the routes. They also identify basically Ward Parkway and the Shawnee Mission Parkway until Metcalf. And going from Metcalf, basically Metcalf from Shawnee Mission Parkway to 135th. As someone, this would probably be the closest to me walking. I'm all for that. I could, just walk to the nearest potential streetcar stop at OP Farmers Markets. Hop on there and bam. Could easily do that. There's a potential corridor for Rainbow Boulevard. Again, being partially serviced by a KU Med stop. But again, this would be a north-south. It could potentially merge with a Metcalf line up to State Avenue, and that's the last one they have here is State Avenue. Basically, could do State Avenue from downtown KCK out to the Legends, Sporting Park, all that. But you're still missing a couple of key areas. Like I think they want better connect 18th and Vine with the rest of downtown, and this does not address the airport or Zona Rosa, which is fairly close to the airport. Both of which would definitely need to be addressed in a Northland extension. But I think the future is bright for KC's streetcar network. And if the answer is light rail for some of these more far-flung areas, so be it. But we need to get off our ass and do something about it. We can't be forever dependent on the automobile. And as was discussed with one Matthew Calcara on Twitter during the campaign season when I tried for state council again, the money that was wasted, and I'm going to say that again, wasted in putting a toll lane on 69 could have much more easily and much more effectively been spent on doing the Metcalf line. I would rather seen the Metcalf line than a toll lane. Alright. And that's going to be a discussion for another time, obviously. But if the World Cup is a catalyst for all this, then great. And if I happen to meet you during the World Cup in 4 years, when we're the only Midwestern city hosting A games, and great, and a preemptive, nice to meet you. So anyway, that's going to take care of our thoughts episode for today. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
This podcast is Uncalled For is hosted, produced and edited by Mike Chernefsky. Opening music is Cool Hard Facts by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. The outro music for this episode is Wapa by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Additional music includes Soki by Alex Figueroa, licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcasting platform. Like our Facebook page at facebook.com/uncalledforpodcast, and check out our blog with show notes at uncalledfor.home.blog. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.